What if the noise of our world just faded? Not with a bang, but with a quiet, creeping stillness. This isn't a scene from some bleak future movie. It's a future we are building right now. One vacant classroom, one silent factory, one vacant home at a time. We're about to enter the Great Void, and the ghost economies it will create are set to change everything you think you know about wealth, influence, and the world your children will inherit. Before we get into this, a quick coffee break. This whole silent hollowing out starts with one single number, 2.1. That's the substitution rate. Think of it like a seesaw. To maintain a stable number of residents, you need 2 kids to succeed 2 adults, with a tiny bit extra, the 0.1, to account for individuals who don't have children or who die young. For decades, most of the industrialized world has been falling below this magic number. In the United States, the total fertility rate is forecasted to be around 1.6 births for each woman in 2025. Europe and Northern America are right there with some of the lowest rates on the world. And this isn't some abstract issue for the next century. The consequences are starting to hit home now. We're in the middle of a massive demographic shift where falling birth rates aren't tied to getting richer like they used to be. In fact, across wealthy nations, it's a near universal decline. Even countries that used to have huge growth in their number of inhabitants, like India, have now fallen below the substitution level. Today, 2/3 of all humans on Earth live in a country where the number of residents is set to shrink. For a while, this trend was masked by something called demographic momentum. It's like a giant flywheel. Even after you cease adding force, the sheer momentum from bigger generations of a bygone era maintains its rotation, making the number of inhabitants seem stable. But as those generations get older, that flywheel is starting to slow. The real effect of the birth rate bust is about to accelerate, and the very foundations of our economic world will begin to crack. Already about half of all Americans are worried about what falling birth rates will mean, with many fearing the next generation just won't be able to sustain the one above it. The first most obvious domino to fall is the workforce. For an economy to grow, you need 2 main things. It's like an engine. You need fuel, which is a steady flow of workers, and you need that engine to be efficient, which is rising output. We're on the verge of running out of one of those key ingredients. You know that classic image of a country's demographics as an age structure chart? A wide base of young individuals sustaining the older folks at the crest? Well, that chart is inverting, turning into a wobbly, unstable spinner. In the United States, the ratio of workers contributing to Social Security for each individual drawing benefits has already fallen dramatically. Imagine a handful of individuals carrying a retiree on their shoulders. In 2042, there will be just 2 individuals left to do the lifting for every 1 retiree. This isn't just an American issue. Across all the major industrialized OECD countries, the number of individuals aged 65 and over for every 100 working-age individuals is on track to nearly double by the year 2060. This worker shortage translates directly into slower economic growth. For a stark contrast, look at the US and Japan. Between 1991 and 2019, as Japan's demographic winter really set in, its economy grew by an average of just 0.83% a year. The US, by contrast, averaged 2.53%. A shrinking labor force sets a firm ceiling on a nation's economic capacity. We're already seeing smaller generations born during downturns like the 2008 financial crisis getting ready to enter the workforce. Their smaller numbers mean a smaller engine to drive the economy. This isn't just about numbers on a ledger sheet. It's about the social contract breaking down. That commitment is like a relay race where each young generation takes the baton to fund the retirement funds and healthcare of the retired generation ahead of them. With fewer individuals clocking in, we're running out of runners, and the baton is about to be fumbled. This brings us to the heart of the crisis, the rise of ghost economies. We've all heard of a ghost town, a location deserted after its gold mine ran dry. A ghost economy is a whole country that becomes a ghost town. It still has all the costly infrastructure of a modern society, the medical centers, schools, highways, and retirement systems, but it's like a giant, beautiful house built for a family of 10 that now only has 2 individuals living in it, and they can't afford the mortgage or the maintenance. It's a nation-state haunted by the echo of a scale of inhabitants that's no longer there. The most immediate danger is a fiscal time bomb. As a society gets older and the workforce shrinks, it's an ideal storm for the government's budget. Tax revenues fall off a cliff, just as demand for elder care and retirement benefits skyrockets. Let's look at the hard numbers. In the United States, the main trust fund for Social Security is like a community water reservoir, and it's on track to be exhausted by 2033. If nothing is done, it's like the faucets being turned off. All beneficiaries would face an automatic immediate benefit cut of around 23%. The story for healthcare is just as grim. An older citizenry needs a lot more medical care. In Spain, for instance, individuals over 65 are like the most frequent customers at the pharmacy, constituting around 20% of the total residents, but accounting for a staggering 80% or more of medicinal drug costs. Back in the U.S., Medicare's Medical Center Insurance Fund is also forecasted to run dry by 2033. That would trigger an immediate 11% cut in reimbursements for all medical center services. Overall, Medicare's costs are forecasted to swell from 3.8% of the entire economy today to 6.2% by 2049. These aren't just theories, they are scheduled events. Without massive, difficult reforms, the bedrock initiatives that millions of individuals are counting on are headed for insolvency within the next decade. The ghost economy is a setting where the commitments of the 20th century can't be funded by the smaller number of inhabitants of the 21st. The effect of a shrinking number of residents goes way beyond government budgets. This hollowing out trend creates an environment of real physical decay. Rural areas are often the first to feel it. It's like a tree dying from the outside in. Young individuals leave for cities in search of jobs, which just accelerates the aging of the countryside. This leads to a downward cycle where essential services, grocery stores, clinics, mail services start to close, leaving communities weaker and more isolated. And then there's the innovation crisis. Advancement is driven by new ideas, but a smaller number of inhabitants means fewer minds working on the next big breakthrough. Think of innovation as a river that fuels our economy. A smaller number of inhabitants turns that river into a tiny stream, unable to turn the gears of long-term growth. Now, some individuals argue that a smaller number of residents could be a good thing, right? While it's true that fewer individuals might consume fewer resources, this view often misses the chaos of the transition. A society built for growth can't just be thrown into reverse. It's like trying to shrink a high-rise floor by floor while individuals are still living and working inside. Our infrastructure, our debt, and our social safety nets are all designed for a growing society. A shrinking country might make us richer for each individual for a little while, but it threatens our long-term stability and could leave us struggling to care for a massive, aging generation. The challenge isn't halting the change, it's managing it without a total breakdown of the systems we all rely on. Faced with this demographic cliff, many countries have tried with urgency to turn things around. Governments have offered everything from baby bonuses and tax credits to generous state-funded childcare. But the evidence is clear. These measures are like a band-aid on a dam leak. They might create a small, brief increase in births, but they don't fix the fundamental structural cracks, like the high cost of raising a child, that are causing the issue. So if we can't easily convince individuals to have more kids, what's left? The real solutions are tough and socially volatile. First, there's immigration. Welcoming more immigrants is the fastest way to backfill a shrinking workforce. It's like bringing in new members for a sports club that's losing all its veterans to retirement. It maintains the club's standing. But this solution often runs into huge societal and cultural headwinds. Second, we can embrace technology. Automation and artificial intelligence could be our most valuable tools, offsetting labor shortages. Imagine robots in factories and AI assisting in elder care. It's like giving every remaining worker a major advantage, allowing one individual to do the work of several and boosting output even as the number of residents gets smaller. Third, there are major structural reforms. This could mean things like gradually raising the retirement age to match our longer lives or redesigning retirement systems. It's about being smarter with the resources we have, like stretching a single loaf of bread to feed more individuals by slicing it more thinly. Some countries, like Denmark and Sweden, are already starting to make these kinds of changes to maintain their budgets in balance. Each of these routes offers its own immense challenges. There is no easy fix for the Great Void. It forces us to ask some really fundamental questions about who we are as a society. Which of these solutions do you think is the most realistic? Or is there another route we haven't even considered? It is redrawing the layout of global influence and forcing a difficult reckoning with the social contract that has defined the industrialized world for a century. We are walking into a future of ghost economies, where the vast infrastructure of our world is still standing, but the individuals who built it and were meant to inherit it are fading away. The choices we make in the coming years on immigration, technology, and social reform will determine whether this transition is a managed decline or an outright breakdown. The Great Void is no longer some distant theory. Let us know what you think in the comments below. The silent march of declining demographics is one of the biggest and most undercovered stories of our time. History rhymes. Power rebrands. Stay inquisitive.